Hi, welcome to Gin Fun at WineMastery. Hi, we're here today at Tea and Cake. It's in a lovely little village just on the outskirts of Huddersfield called Almondbury. It's on the main street. It's a fantastic atmosphere in here. We're actually here in lockdown, so it's a little bit quieter than normal. But the reason for being here is I've had the great pleasure of talking to Tom. Tom, hi, welcome.
Hello.
Tom Clark is the proprietor of a new distillery. How long was it since you've launched the distillery?
We started, pretty early stages. We started in kind of around July, August time last year.
Okay.
And then we kind of had the first proper batch in January this year.
Wow, okay, so 2020 you actually sort of started producing in January 21.
Yeah.
And wow, what a difficult time to start. Obviously we're still in lockdown, so that couldn't have been easy, huh?
No, it was kind of good and bad, so it kind of gave us time away from other things, kind of other distractions. So it was nice to have that kind of break where I could kind of concentrate on it. I didn't have other things pressing for my time. But then it's also bad because it's hard to kind of get out and test the product properly and kind of access all the different people or get in touch with, go see bottle suppliers and label suppliers and things like that. Just made it a bit more difficult, but
yeah.
On the whole it was probably kind of up and down. We kind of got done, I think, what we needed to do.
Some pros and cons.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're very brave. A lot of people in shutdown found it a little bit too big a steep of a hill to climb, so well done for getting out of that.
Thank you.
Getting out there and doing that, I mean. Okay, well, before we actually get into the gin, perhaps sort of from the viewer's point of view, just to understand how you actually got into this, because you didn't wake up one morning and say, oh, I know what, I'm going to produce some gin. How did that happen? So it went back quite a while. So I went to Huddersfield Uni, which is why I kind of ended up in Huddersfield. Stayed there kind of once I finished. I then went to work for my dad's print business over in Bradford and kind of was there for a number of years. Eventually I kind of started wanting to kind of branch out and do a bit more of my own thing and originally started looking at doing a microbrewery. Okay.
So I did kind of a course on kind of startup microbrewery and it kind of ended up being that I probably actually needed a bit more capital than I thought I would at the kind of start of that.
Right.
To actually do that. So then I kind of carried on at Dominion and actually eventually started an escape room business in Huddersfield, which was kind of lower capital, could do it in my kind of free time and get that up and running. Through doing that, I actually went to a trade show and part of that trade show, it was all kind of about indoor hospitality and indoor leisure. Part of that trade show, there was a stand on distilleries. Okay. And a setup where people would go into a bar or a pub. You pay them a kind of a lump sum and they would set everything up, train all your staff in your bar or your pub so you could then produce your own gin internally. And it was kind of a fraction of the cost of what the microbrewery was, and it kind of rekindled that idea actually that maybe this is a nice kind of, still in the drinks industry, still kind of what I wanted to kind of go towards, but actually a bit more achievable and a bit easier to kind of set up. So eventually then a couple of more years down the line, kind of started looking at it again. Lockdown hit, so then we kind of put it on hold.
Yeah.
But then during the second lockdown, I kind of decided actually I've got quite a lot of time on my hands. I've had a bit of cash to kind of invest in something and start doing something to kind of keep me occupied as much as anything else. Yeah. And then decided kind of just to go for it. So to use the premises that we've got in town already, kind of get what we needed and just kind of push on with doing the distillery and taking it from there really, and just kind of seeing what happened with it.
Wow.
So it's kind of part kind of side project, hobby type, passion type thing, but then also it was something that I want to, this is going to be my kind of main focus now, I think, to kind of grow it and take it on and hopefully become something that is kind of equal or better than the escape rooms really. Yeah,
absolutely. And I guess obviously it's, you're into the types of gin that you're into are craft gins, so they're very unique, individual. And so, I mean, there are obviously now a lot of craft gins in the market. I mean, if I thought of producing gin, I'd go, ooh, I don't know, there's so many out there, how am I going to make it mine better than everyone else's, or as equal that people want to try it. So that's sort of quite a...
Yeah, it probably was the most daunting part. Obviously, a lot of people that I spoke to said, I've kind of missed the boat now with gins, and it's past the time to kind of get into it, and I should be looking at something else. I did actually originally start looking at doing rum, just because a lot of people say it's going to be the next thing, but from doing research and looking at what was out there and how many drinkers were out there, I actually kind of realised there's more gin distilleries, but actually there's a kind of much bigger kind of gin audience as well.
Yes.
So in terms, the ratio, you might have less rum distilleries, but you've got a lot less rum drinkers. But gin is kind of a really widespread drink, and actually there probably is still space for other distilleries to be coming. And even though I may have missed the kind of initial boom that there was kind of a few years ago, actually that kind of couple of years or 2 or 3 years, in the grand scheme of things, if we're here in 10, 20 years time, hopefully it probably won't make much difference, and it's just a case of kind of getting going and starting it and seeing what happens. The thing that we started with, or the flavour that I wanted to start with, was the Lady Grey tea gin, just because we used to come to Tea and Cake a lot, because we lived kind of just around the corner.
Yeah.
So we'd come in a lot at weekends to have kind of breakfast and whatever else, and I'd drink the kind of the Lady Grey tea. That they do here. Kind of became my favourite drink, and there is tea gins out there, but I don't think there's a huge number, and it was trying to create something that I was proud of, that I'd drink, that was a bit different, that was a full kind of full-bodied tea gin. So that's kind of where I started. When I went down that, I kind of started panicking a bit, thinking, actually, are all these people going to want to drink tea gins, and should I actually be starting with a London Dry?
Yeah.
I didn't have a load of cash. It's kind of, when you pay the duty, it's quite a lot of cash to put into stock. So then I kind of started thinking, actually, maybe I should just do a London Dry instead, because when I start approaching people are maybe happier to take a chance on buying a bottle of London Dry.
Yes.
Because it's probably going to be a flavour, or near enough a flavour, that they're kind of happy to take a chance on. And in the end, decided to kind of do both and let the kind of sales speak for themselves, really. So see actually which one did sell.
So you got the cash together to pay the duty in order that you could do both.
So we did both, and it was nice doing that, because it's a lot of people that have drunk a lot of gins and got a lot of experience in it. They're probably a bit more intrigued by the tea gin.
Yes.
People that just like gin and I don't know, a kind of more rounded gin drinkers, just like to kind of go through the London Dries and try the different London Dries. So it's something that's kind of nice to give to both people. It's more probably when I'm approaching retail places, gin shops, wine shops and stuff, are probably a bit more interested in the tea, just because they've got hundreds of London Dries. But some might only have 1 or 2 tea gins, if any.
Yeah.
So actually they're a bit more interested in trying that. So it's different drinks for kind of different avenues of who I'm approaching and kind of where it's going to, really. So it's nice having the mix of the two.
Wow, yeah. So, and obviously that's two, and you mentioned obviously the cash, but I guess, and we're in lockdown, so that would have sort of, I imagine, sort of brought the throttle off in terms of developing new gins. Are you planning to introduce some more flavours as well?
Yeah, so the next thing that we're looking at is doing a fruit gin of some kind.
Okay.
It's trying to balance it, so I want to do kind of a fully distilled gin, really, so there's no kind of added flavour afterwards.
So it's actually actual product?
Yeah, so it's kind of all macerated beforehand, then it's distilled, and then what you get out is then the fruit gin, but it's trickier to the others just because it's hard to get through flavours. I also want to have quite a unique flavour.
Yeah.
So I want, something that's not just a standard kind of fruit, something that's quite a nice combination, that's not out there already.
Right.
But it's really hard finding that, because there's hundreds of fruit gins, there's absolutely everything out there.
Yeah.
So it's trying to find something, but then you have to find something that's a powerful enough flavour to come through once it's distilled.
Yes.
So it's just trying to find the right balance, I think, of the right combination of what fruit we want to do, and actually whether we should be looking at compounding something afterwards to kind of come to the flavour. So it's experimenting really at the minute.
So I guess what you're doing is looking at what the market is, what gins are out there, and then saying, right, okay, so I think this is either a combination of this would be nice, or looking for a gap in that marketplace that says, we think this actually would be very nice.
I think it's trying to replicate in some form what we did with the tea gin, in that the fact that shops are actually quite interested in trying the tea gin. If we went with a strawberry gin or something like that there's a few of already, shops might say, actually, we've got a few strawberry gins.
Yes.
I'm not too bothered about trying another one and adding it. But if we've got a mango, kiwi and guava gin or whatever it might be, then maybe they'll be kind of happy to say, actually, I've never tried that combination before, so come in and let's try it and we'll see what it's like.
Where it goes, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of the thought process. But I do want it to be, it also needs to kind of keep the mass appeal as well, and people actually want to try a gin that's kind of a crazy combination.
Absolutely, yeah, and yeah, people look forward to that, those different tastes. And as you say, well, probably some of them won't be for everyone, but you can't please all of the people all of the time, can you?
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. So I noticed that the brand is actually Castle Hill. Where did that come from?
Well, because originally it was going to be Huddersfield gin, so I wanted to kind of concentrate on being a local gin. So a lot of people when I started said that your market that you want to sell to is your local market. People are happy to kind of support local businesses, so that's probably where you have your easiest success or your first success.
Yeah, your first stepping stone.
Yeah, so I wanted to call it Huddersfield Gin and really be the kind of gin known for Huddersfield, really is the kind of ultimate goal, I guess. And I kind of went down that route, and then I talked to other places, talked to kind of customers, different distilleries, stuff like that. And some of them said, actually, you might want to not go so much for Huddersfield gin, just because it might hinder you if you want to go somewhere a bit further afield.
Yeah.
But you might want to get something that's kind of the same as Huddersfield gin, but not quite the same. And that's where Castle Hill came from, just because I lived half a mile from Castle Hill for kind of 10 years. And it just seemed to be a nice fit. It's a nice sounding name. It's still, if I went to go and sell a bottle in London, Castle Hill sounds a nice kind of royal sounding name.
But it's actually been sort of habited there from thousands of years back, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Stone Age or whatever, they've actually found. So yeah, it's a hill above Castle. There's a monument on it which was built, a folly which was built here when Queen Victoria visited Huddersfield. I think it was in 1902. So it's very prominent from where normally anywhere in Huddersfield you can look up in the skyline. Of course, not unless you're directly in front of a building, but you can look up in the skyline and see Castle Hill in the distance. So it's quite a local. Notable landmark.
It's been nice actually. Since starting, I've actually had people that get in touch and send me emails just telling me about their kind of time at Castle Hill and what they've been into doing, and that they go up there and they spend time with the family, and nothing to do with the gin, just kind of saying, well done on doing the gin, I love Castle Hill, this is why. And so it was really nice kind of starting, and actually, because I kind of feel the same really, that I've been there for years. I take my son and I go with my wife and we kind of walk around there all the time and probably go 2 or 3 times a week.
Really, yeah.
So it's nice having that connection. It's nice knowing that other people kind of feel the same way about it as I do, really.
Yeah, well, there are beautiful views from up there, aren't there? And I'll probably sort of tag some in on the video, just so you get a feel, assuming it's not raining on my way back. Fantastic. So, but I also noticed that your company is not called Castle Hill, is it? The company name is something, again, completely different. Yeah,
the company is called the Huddersfield Gin Company.
Oh, okay. When I went on the website, I thought it was called Ribble or something.
No.
No? Oh, right. No. Maybe I was looking at it wrong.
But yeah, it was the Huddersfield Gin Company, because we were going to be Huddersfield Gin originally. Yeah. And kind of started down that route because I did all my licenses and everything else for Huddersfield Gin Company. Yeah. I kind of didn't bother starting again with Castle Hill Gin Limited.
Well, the name of the company is different from the brand. That's not unusual, is it? Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, fantastic. So, which one would you suggest that we? This is the exciting bit for me. Which one would you suggest we start with?
I'd normally start with the London Dry.
Okay, let's do that.
And I think it's the one on the left.
On the one on the left.
Yeah.
So, what sort of alcohol content is this?
40%.
40%.
Yeah, both 40%.
Okay. It's nice and clean, isn't it? And what would you hope that I'm getting? He says.
So you should get. Well, it should obviously be. You should get quite a lot of juniper. The juniper probably comes through more in the taste and the smell, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's something else just underneath that.
Yeah, the thing that you probably get a lot of the rosemary and thyme kind of combination. So it's really.
I think it's the thyme I'm getting. Yeah, it's just like when I'm with John. You know, a situation where you smell something, and I recognise that, but as soon as someone says what it is, click, it's there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the rosemary and thyme, when you taste it, they'll probably be the most kind of prominent characters that you'll get. and then you can have a sweet finish. I'll let you have your taste.
That's a, I was going to say slow burn. I don't mean burn in terms of burning the mouth. I mean slow in terms of the taste developing.
Yeah, the flavour. So you start with a nice kind of herbaceous start, and the juniper at the front end, and then it kind of tails off into a nice sweet finish from the cinnamon and the cardamom.
Sort of visual is sort of like it's starting at the tip of my tongue and then sort of gradually sort of going out into the rest of it. It's very refreshing.
Yeah.
It leaves a lovely clear palate. It's really.
Well, really nice, and we kind of set out for it to be kind of a sipping gin to a certain extent, but like a gin that you could enjoy just on the rocks. I drank, when I started, or before kind of doing the gin, I used to drink a lot more whiskey.
Okay.
So whiskey was kind of, I'd either drink beer, craft ale as kind of a long drink, and then whiskey as a kind of a nightcap or a kind of a slower drink in the evening. And I wanted something where I could kind of sip it and have it as a neat drink as well as a kind of gin and tonic.
Yes.
And that's what we're kind of trying to create, really. So it should be a nice, smooth gin.
As a craft gin, I think, and more and more people are drinking it like they would a malt whiskey, where they're just, because obviously you get the full taste. One of the things with a tonic is it does make it more refreshing, but depending on the tonic, it can actually you've gone into a lot of effort to get this taste as you want it.
Yeah, do you want to try it with a tonic?
We may as well, yeah. Okay, so poured, exit tonic. Oh yeah, it's got a different, I think that's not the tonic, they brought out a different.
So it works really well with the Mediterranean tonics. It's similar botanicals in the tonic.
It's the Mediterranean. I was thinking it was normal tonic, so that's why. Right. Okay. It is. That's very. Again, that's very refreshing. That is exceptionally refreshing. Again, it's sort of just my mouth feels very clean now, and obviously, I think that the difference between the tonic. This is a refreshing drink. The difference between drinking it neat is that the taste remains there and you can just enjoy the taste. Whereas this, obviously the taste is more instantaneous and leaves that nice clean thing, which has the added advantage that you then want to take another sip, of course.
Yeah, well that's what I drink kind of at home. That's the kind of my kind of go-to gin and tonic.
Just out of interest, what proportion of tonic to gin do you go for?
I don't know how I can compare. So we use the 200ml bottles of tonic, so I'll pour kind of just over a triple gin, to be honest with you. So I kind of go for about 80ml of gin to 200ml of tonic.
Okay.
So that's about a 1 to 3.
50, almost. If there's another 20ml, you'd be 50. Yeah.
So 1 part gin, 2 parts tonic.
Yeah. Okay.
Roughly. A little bit over.
I've tended to, especially during lockdown, I've tended to sort of go for 50-50, which.
Well, that's a shame of it, really, because you had so much tonic. You end up drinking tonic that's got a bit of gin in it, rather than drinking gin that's kind of been lengthened with a tonic.
Yeah.
So I definitely like a more gin, because it's that I want to kind of taste rather than so much the tonic.
Yeah, because the tonic's a lot cheaper to drink.
Yeah.
So if you're going to enjoy the, that's very nice. And in terms of when you're drinking it neat and. Do you drink it over ice at all, or do you just?
So I'd have it with kind of. Have you seen the kind of balls of ice that you can get, where it kind of does a reasonably sized ball? I don't like a lot of ice really, because I think it melts too quickly. So I like just one big chunk of ice.
Okay.
Really, but that's more down to probably my preference than what you normally have. But it's nice to have that ice just to kind of water it down ever so slightly, just so it makes it a bit smoother, opens up the flavours a little bit more. I think it works well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I think in terms of personally, I have ice in the summer, and I tend to in the winter just drink it if I'm drinking neat with a little bit of ice. But in the summer I do that. In the winter I just have it neat and get that nice warm glow.
Yeah.
So. Absolutely lovely. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Is it possible? I'm really excited to try the
tea gin.
The tea gin. Yeah. So this is Earl Grey.
Well, this is Lady Grey.
So, Lady Grey.
Yeah. So
different.
Yeah, Lady Grey is basically Earl Grey, which is the bergamot. So it's normal black tea with bergamot is Earl Grey. But Lady Grey also has lemon and orange.
Okay.
And so ours actually has lemon peel and orange blossom.
Okay.
Which are the two. So when you smell it, you should get a lot of. It's actually a Sri Lankan black tea. So you should get a lot of that kind of on the nose.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Tea, yeah. Yeah, that's something, because you know, when you have loose tea and you sort of, and I love smelling that,
Yeah,
and that, you just get the same effect with this. Yeah, and I can just smell afterwards the.
You get a little bit of the citrus on it as well.
Okay. That is very interesting. Tea, for sure.
Yeah.
And that sounds really strange. Some people will think, tea, I don't want to drink gin, you know, with the taste like tea, but actually, you know, if you just disassociate the tea, it's a lovely, lovely taste. It's very mellow. It makes it a little bit, not sickly sweet, but just makes it a little bit sweeter, doesn't it? And I guess is that the orange, I'm guessing?
Yeah, with the kind of more of the citrus notes, so probably the orange and a little bit of the lemon.
And again, fantastic length. You know, it's not. Let's not forget this is 40%, so it says a lot for your skill in producing this, so it's nice and smooth. There's no burn. It's a nice little warming effect on the mouth and on the throat, but actually there's none of that burning, eye-watering, any indication of that. It is really nice. You can just concentrate on the taste without having to go ooh ooh ooh. It is really, really smooth. It's very nice. Excellent.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Do you want to try that one with the tonic as well?
Yeah.
So with this one, kind of went through 2 stages really. So we used to recommend a Clementine Tonic, which works really well with it. But it's more than anything, it was kind of it was harder for us to actually get hold of Clementine Tonic.
Oh, right.
As we use kind of Fever Tree mixers for both. They don't actually do the 200ml bottles of Clementine.
Right.
And we wanted something that was easy for us to kind of take out, let people try and everything else. So we went with the ginger ale, which I think works just as well, and it kind of complements the flavours nicely. So where the Clementine kind of lengthens it a bit, the Clementine adds nicely with the other kind of citrus notes.
Yeah.
The ginger ale kind of more complements it, and it becomes a bit of a different drink.
Okay.
So it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on that.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because there are two sort of thought patterns. One is that I always personally, but I mean that doesn't mean to say it's right. It just means what I personally do. Is I always think I'm going to try and taste the gin as the distiller intended it, and so I don't tend to like putting in flavoured tonics, because I think, again, you've got the base gin there, and you're
well, that's where, because I would try them neat when I go and do tastings with people. A lot of them say, well, why am I trying it neat? I wouldn't do it neat. Well, actually, trying it neat is you kind of get everything out. It's produced to be able to be enjoyed neat, even though a lot of people might not drink it that way.
Yeah.
Actually, that's how you kind of can taste the complexities of it and get all the flavours of the gin. And then the tonic's there, it kind of changes the drink really. It's more of a cocktail really, isn't it? And it's something different, and then the gin just becomes kind of half of the drink, and it's just there to kind of complement it and become a bit of a different drink, and to be enjoyed a different way really.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Right. So let's have a try. Oh yeah, that is a nice combination, isn't it? And it almost feels like when I'm concentrating on the flavour, I'm getting the gin, then it sort of flips and I get the ginger, then I get the gin. It's really strange. Some drinks do that, where you can't concentrate. It's not like I can concentrate on the combination of the taste. It's like part of my brain is recognising one of the tastes, and another part of my brain is recognising the other, and it sort of like flips between the two. Again, though, that one I find has. Which presumably because of more of the flavour in it, with the tonic has a longer length than the London gin, which I guess is just is there to be refreshing, clean the palate, and lovely taste. But that one has the taste is still there, so that says a lot for the gin as well. I think in terms of ginger ale isn't that weak, is it? So
No, yeah.
That's very, very good. Absolutely delicious, yeah. Very nice indeed. Very, very impressed. Would there be anything else besides ginger? Would there be anything else besides ginger ale that you would mix with that?
Probably between it's. So the tonics that I'd probably use really are either the Clementine Tonic,
Yeah.
which kind of works nicely with it. The ginger ale obviously works nicely with it.
Yeah.
Just a light tonic is probably quite nice if you just wanted just the kind of gin flavours and more of that side kind of coming out. I think that kind of works well as well. Other than that, it's kind of putting it into, I mean, we have people that are doing all sorts with the kind of Lady Grey tea gin. The guys here at Tea and Cake, they were being kind of curing salmon with it, so they did kind of some salmon dishes where they kind of cured the salmon in with the gin. Yeah. Other places have been doing, so I was talking to someone yesterday that are going to do some desserts, so like a cheesecake type dessert with a Lady Grey gel on top. So there's kind of various kind of uses for that one, and I've got people kind of suggesting all kinds of things really. It's nice to kind of see what people create and what people do with it.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Do you have, in terms of any particular cocktail that you like using your gin for? Your favourite cocktail? Yeah,
probably not particularly. I mean, I probably like simpler stuff really. So I drink G&Ts. I guess my kind of go-to drink is the G&T with the London Dry gin. Just it's nice, refreshing, kind of quaffable drink. Cocktails, I'm probably not kind of too familiar. It's not something I kind of go out my way to kind of create, just because I lose too much of the kind of actual gin flavour. Yeah. So I have actually had a mixologist create a number of cocktails with both gins actually, which we've kind of gone through, and they do taste great. How much of that is from the gin or just kind of from the overall kind of flavours of what else is going into it? I'm not too sure. I mean, the Lady Grey is a different one really. You can do more interesting things with that, and I've tried different cocktails that the guys have made with that. But yeah, I just like the bog standard gin and getting all the flavours, and that's kind of why we've kind of created it really, rather than having to add in or mix anything else to change it and create a different drink.
Yeah, well, personally the same. If I'm cocktailing, I'll use something that's much cheaper than a craft gin, because I think you're losing it. You with a craft gin, you pay for those intricacies in the taste, and actually if you're a cocktail, those are going to be disguised anyway. So why spend that money? It's just been in Yorkshire too long.
Yeah, that is the thing. It's like the same thing with buying a 20-year-old whiskey. You're not going to start putting it into any kind of drink other than probably just having it neat or with a touch of water.
I once had a was out with a managing director, and we had this very important client, and so to impress this client, a managing director ordered, I think it was like a 50-year-old brandy or something, and we had this brandy after dinner, and the client just poured some Coca-Cola in it. Hey-ho. So, I mean, I guess to the important thing, which is how do people get hold of your gin? Where can they go?
So we've got a number of places now, actually, mainly around Huddersfield. We've got some places a bit further afield. So Tea and Cake is our kind of first stockist that ever kind of stocked us, because we worked with them on the tea gin. Yeah. So they've got both, and then we've got places like Taste Fine Wines in Allenbury, which is just along the road. We've got Lindley Fine Wines in Lindley, we've got Quass in the town centre, Arcade Beers in the town centre, a lot of the farm shops, Hinchcliffe, Bolstermoor, Thorncliffe. I'm sure there'll be some that'll be forgetting to.
I'm sure you're going to be as we come out of lockdown. I'm sure you're going to be adding
that's the thing. Yeah.
In terms of people outside of the area, do you have a web presence?
So we've got everything's available online. Yes, we have both flavours, all three sizes. We're just about to get some branded glasses as well, which will be going online soon. Okay. So yeah, everything's available online, and then we're kind of just trying to add more and more stockists just to make it a bit more available. Just as people hear about it, because if someone's in Huddersfield and they have a glass and they want to buy it locally, then so obviously. What about overseas? Are you be able to, or is that involve all sorts of licensing things? There is some license, so basically we can send it overseas, but the people receiving it at the other end, they actually have to pay alcohol duty on it. Right. So you're kind of paying the duty twice, so it does make it a bit more expensive, but I think we did look into it, because someone's just sent a bottle over to New Zealand. Okay. I think we've had a bottle sent to Australia as well, actually, fairly recently. And I think if they send it as a gift, I think there's some kind of rules where actually they don't actually have to pay it up to a certain amount. Yeah. So people can. So they can't send a crepes over, but they can send a bottle or whatever. Yeah. And you obviously it's packed and ready to. Yeah. So anything that's Huddersfield. Localish area, I'd normally kind of deliver myself. Yeah. And we just kind of have it in just a standard kind of cardboard box. Anything that's going further afield through a courier or a Royal Mail, we put in the kind of big air packs. We have the kind of full cushioned, kind of sleeping bag around it that you put in a box, and that kind of goes through the system.
Fantastic, great stuff. Well, obviously I'll be putting the link down below in terms of where you can get this. I'll just put the web link, and presumably on your website it says where the local sort of retailers are, if there are people who are local that are watching.
I do need to add that.
Okay.
That'll be going on soon.
That'll be going on soon, right? So, I guess is there anything I've not asked that you think that I should cover, or our viewers should know?
I don't think so. We've
No,
kind of gone through the gins and where to get it, what it tastes of.
If it's okay, I'll take some with me, and John and I will do a separate review. We'll just go through it with John, who, as you know, has got a much better palate than me. And I think that just leaves me to say thank you very much for your time, Tom. It's really, really kind of you. Love talking to you. Really exciting project. I wish you every success with it.
Thank you.
And also thank you to Tea Cake for being our host.
Tea and Cake.
Tea and Cake, excuse me. Tea and Cake for being our hosts and providing this venue for us to do the filming in these difficult lockdown times.
I mean, anyone that is actually Huddersfield based, we've kind of come in today to use their bar, actually, which a lot of local people probably won't actually know about, because it's a fairly new thing that they've kind of built over lockdown.
Yeah.
So actually on the first floor now they've got this kind of nice bar area, and they're wanting it to be more of a bar space than just the kind of tea rooms that it was downstairs. So it'll be nice once it does reopen. Anyone that is Huddersfield based should kind of pop up and check it out.
It's a lovely venue for sure, and I think it's good that I think now sadly some places in lockdown will be shut and not opening their doors again, but it's really encouraging to see places like Tea and Cake that are actually invested now, ready for the doors to open, and somewhere new for people to try, and all that pent up people wanting to get out there. So I'm sure they'll do fantastic. Super. Well, thank you very much, Tom. Thank you very much indeed. Really enjoyed this. Thank you guys for looking, for watching us today. Please look at our other Gin Fun videos. I'll put some links in the screen. Until the next time, we'll see you there. Chin